I think we're in that bull market. The market has quadrupled since the low of the last market, right? We've quadrupled off of 15,000. And so, where can we go from the low to the new high? Well, I'd say we could probably go 20x, Going up 20x from the low in this market is conceivable, right? It's probably a reasonable thing. And we're up already 4x. So let's just say 5x left to go in this phase. That might be more. There's no solid rule.
Fred Krueger, a well-known crypto analyst and Bitcoin maximalist, champions the Bitcoin power law, a mathematical model that tracks Bitcoin's historical price trends and highlights the relationship between time and price. As a Stanford PhD in mathematics, Fred considers this model the most accurate framework for analyzing Bitcoin's past performance, adoption, and predicting future price movements. His outlook on Bitcoin is extremely bullish, with forecasts suggesting it could reach $250,000 to $350,000, or even $1 million in an ideal bull case, before the bull market ends around 2025. Fred's confidence is so high that he's made a public bet, offering $100,000 worth of Satoshis to anyone who believes Bitcoin won't hit $70,000 before the US presidential elections in November. In his tweet, Fred stated, "Bitcoin at $70,000 before the election, it's happening. If you disagree, send $100,000 in SATs to Beagle Bitcoin, who will hold the bet as custodian, and I'll match it." He also predicts a significant boost for Bitcoin during Q4 2024, noting that September 2024 was the best September on record for the cryptocurrency. In another Twitter post, Fred highlighted that Q4 could see even greater gains post-election, driven by institutional players like MicroStrategy and panicked ETF buyers. He expects Q4 to be one for the record books as advisor approvals and additional buying push Bitcoin prices even higher. During a recent appearance on the Relai Bitcoin podcast, Fred reaffirmed his belief in the Bitcoin power law model, emphasizing its superiority for forecasting Bitcoin's future amid the ongoing bull market. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
I would start with this power law, okay, which is, the concept that everybody kind of got wrong, which is something that got popular in about 2019, 2020, which was the stock to flow model, right? Now, if you really look at the stock to flow model, and I could go on for a long time but it's basically incorrect, okay? And there's a lot of problems with the math and the stock to flow model. However, there is a model which is actually pretty much bulletproof, which is this power law model. And the power law model says very simply, let's plot the price of Bitcoin in log terms, okay? And let's look at it also relative to the time since the Genesis block in the log terms. It's important to have both of those axes be in log terms. Now, if you do that, you notice that it's more or less oscillating around a straight line. And if you do a regression to that straight line, you find that the fit is the R squared is 97%. Okay. So that's the first clue that, okay, this is something really amazing. Because if you get a 97% R squared, this is not a coincidence. Now, the amazing thing is this happens over a period from when Bitcoin was at 10 cents to when Bitcoin was at $73,000, right? So you have 6 orders of magnitude of growth, right? From 10 cents to $73,000, almost $100,000, right? And yet the logarithms follow this linear slope with 97% correlation, okay? Now, if you told me that any relationship like that in finance has a 97% correlation over 6 orders of magnitude, I would say you found the holy grail, right? Yeah. The first reason why I have conviction is I believe in this power law. I do think that this is sort of statistically how Bitcoin price is evolving. And furthermore, we can even talk about why this is happening. And the why of this is that Bitcoin adoption is also growing like a power law, right? It's growing like a power law. And so the important thing about a power law is the power, right? So at what power is this growing? And roughly it's growing at t to the power 6. Okay. So as time goes by, it's not going at the square of time. It's not growing at the cube of time. It's growing to the 6th power of time, right? That's roughly how fast Bitcoin is going. So you have this crazy, almost exponential growth, right? Not quite exponential, but it's almost exponential. A good way to think of it right now is Bitcoin's growing at about 40% per year. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the trend line Bitcoin. Now, around this, there's tremendous volatility, right? And if you look at it in sort of normal space, it almost makes no sense. It's sort of like, okay, it went up a lot in 2017, it crashed. It went up a lot in 2020, it crashed. Okay, now it's back. Okay, what do you make of this? It just seems like a, complete just sort of random event, right? Mm. But if you look at it in log terms, you see, no, there's a very clear pattern, right? A very clear pattern. And furthermore, you can even estimate the volatility around this pattern, right? And so basically, the volatility is around 0.3 in logarithmic terms. What that means is that you can go up by 10 to the power of 0.3, which is a double, or you can go down by 10 to the power negative 0.3, which brings you down to about half.
According to Fred, Bitcoin is currently at fair value, with an equal chance of either climbing to $125,000 or falling back to $30,000 within the next year, based on the Bitcoin power law model. However, when factoring in trendline growth, he predicts Bitcoin's price could range from $50,000 to $200,000, with $100,000 being the average by the end of the year. He reiterated this forecast on the social media platform X, posting that Q4 will be epic due to several factors, including the U.S. election outcome, potential rate cuts, China's monetary easing, the reopening of FTX, increased ETF participation, and more institutional interest in Bitcoin. Fred's post outlines 7 key reasons for his bullish stance: the end of the U.S. election cycle, possible Trump leadership, a 50 basis point rate cut expected on November 8th, China's ongoing monetary easing, FTX's return to the market, greater advisor and ETF involvement, and more significant buys from institutional players like MicroStrategy. With these drivers, Fred believes a $100,000 Bitcoin by year-end might even be a conservative estimate. In a recent interview, Fred pointed out that during previous bull markets, Bitcoin has surged 20 to 30 times from its lows. He expects a similar performance by 2025, reinforcing his confidence in Bitcoin's upward trajectory.
So I would sort of say right now we are at fair value of Bitcoin, roughly. And I would say, we have an even chance of going to, say, 125,000 Bitcoin in a year versus going back down to 30,000. Now, that would be without the trendline growth. So the trendline growth puts you at around 100,000 by the end of this year. So I would say if I had to put a confidence interval, I would say 50,000 to 200,000, with 100,000 being the mean, kind of for the end of the year. Now, that's kind of that really should give you a lot of confidence that we're in a pretty good spot to invest in Bitcoin. But on top of that, we now have this ETF, right? Mm. And the ETF is probably a reason why we're going to exceed this on the upside, right? So, we're in this ETF and we're in the 4th bull market of Bitcoin. The 4th bull market, I would say it's really driven by ETFs more than anything else, right? And I think, the promise of the ETF started kicking in when we were at Bitcoin 25,000 almost, And so I think we're in that bull market. The market has quadrupled since the low of the last market, right? We've quadrupled off of 15,000. And so, where can we go from the low to the new high? Well, I'd say we could probably go 20x, that's normally where you go. Like if you go back from in sort of in the last bull market, right? We bottomed out at Bitcoin 3,500, right? So we started 2019 at around 4,000, okay, and we ended up at 69,000, right? Mm-hmm. So from 3,000 to 69,000, let's just call it 20x, right? Mm-hmm. So it seems like a lot, but actually that's what we did. So, right, but really it started earlier, right? So I think it really started more in like 2015 timeframe, right? So it was more like, if you remember, Bitcoin was around 500 then, right? Mm-hmm. So it really went from 500 to almost 20K, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just call it 30x. So I think a good way to think of these things, these bull markets, is historically they've lasted 3 or 4 years. Okay, the first one was, let's call it 3 years, from 2010 till end of 2013. 4 years, really, almost, right? Mm. It was just an enormous bull market, right? It was the biggest of all. But I think, going up 20x from the low in this market is conceivable, right? Mm. It's probably a reasonable thing. And we're up already 4x. So let's just say 5x left to go in this phase. That might be more. There's no solid rules. But, I think that, for us to go 250, 300K in this kind of bull market is entirely possible. And it may be bigger, right? It may just continue all the way up to 1 million. Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. I do think we're in this bull market. The big picture is we're in a bull market. Mm-hmm. We're in a bull market. We have this catalyst, which is this ETF, which is so much bigger than the Ethereum catalyst of 2017, so much bigger than this DeFi catalyst of 2020.
Fred Krueger is a vocal Bitcoin maximalist, a position he proudly shares in interviews and social media. Recently, he has intensified his criticism of altcoins like Cardano and meme coins, posting a detailed argument on why everyone should be exclusively focused on Bitcoin. In this post, Fred lists 10 reasons to be Bitcoin only. His top points include the claim that over a span of 4 years or more, all altcoins tend to lose value against Bitcoin. He highlights examples like Ethereum, Litecoin, and EOS, all of which have dropped relative to Bitcoin since their peaks. He also emphasizes that surviving bear markets requires strong conviction, which he believes is easier with Bitcoin. Fred goes on to argue that altcoins become obsolete with time, likening them to outdated technologies like AOL and MySpace. He warns that many altcoins are outright scams or overcomplicated with unnecessary features like staking schemes and airdrops. Additionally, he points out that most altcoins lack a supply cap, unlike Bitcoin, which has a fixed supply, making it a better store of value. According to Fred, altcoins are not only risky but also a waste of time and effort. Fred's post ends with a blunt challenge, questioning whether anyone would rather spend their time promoting frivolous coins than focusing on Bitcoin, which he views as the only meaningful cryptocurrency investment. He continues to support his extremely bullish outlook for Bitcoin, expecting a 20-30x return in the near future. What do you think about Fred Krueger's arguments against altcoins and his bold prediction for Bitcoin's future? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.